Times NBA players got into a beef. Beef isn't for dinner this time. Nope, beef in regards to this video is about times NBA players took issue with one another. Sometimes the beef develops due to intense, hard-fought battles, ramping up to the point it became personal. Other times, the beef was immediately personal. After we show you some of the biggest beefs ever in the NBA, don't forget to click like, comment down below, and subscribe to our channel. The greatest keeps Thomas off Dream Team. In the late 1980s, Michael Jordan rose. He became his airness. Jordan's shoes became a fashion statement, and Jordan became one of the most recognized people in the world. On the court, while Jordan soared individually, his team, the Chicago Bulls, struggled to win in the playoffs. The first few years, it was the Larry Bird Boston Celtics that stood in the way of the Bulls in the Eastern Conference. But in the final year of the decade and the beginning of the 1990s, it was the bad boy Detroit Pistons. Those Pistons teams won 2 NBA championships and exacted a toll on its opponents. They were called the Bad Boys because they beat up their opponents. There were no weak fouls. If they were going to foul, they were going to hit hard in an effort to wear down opponents. No player got this physical treatment more than Jordan. The Pistons felt that if they hit Jordan every time he drove at the rim, it would tire him quicker and he wouldn't be as sharp. It worked, considering they won those 2 championships. When the torch was finally passed in the 1991 Eastern Conference Finals, when the Bulls beat the Pistons, the star player for the Pistons, point guard Isiah Thomas, led the team walking off the court to the locker room before the game was actually over. It was seen an extremely disrespectful act. Perhaps to get back at Thomas for that action, or for all the hard fouls. According to well-documented rumors, Jordan refused to play in the 1992 USA Olympic team, known as the Dream Team, unless Thomas was left off the roster. Thomas was never invited to the team, despite it being coached by his Pistons coach, Chuck Daly. In the time since, the two avoid talking about each other, and Jordan has denied forcing Thomas off the Dream Team, despite others confirming he did. Court rivalry spills into real life. Matt Barnes and Derek Fisher were teammates with the Los Angeles Lakers for 2 seasons between 2010 and 2012. They must not have been very close. A few years later in 2015, Fisher was the head coach of the New York Knicks, and Barnes was playing for the Memphis Grizzlies. Barnes was separated and getting a divorce from his wife and mother to his 2 kids. While in a different part of California training for the upcoming season, Barnes got a call from his 2 kids. They told him that Fisher was at the house with their mom. That was Barnes' wife still, as the 2 had not finalized their divorce. According to reports, Barnes drove 95 miles per hour to get to his wife's house in Los Angeles, where he discovered Fisher was. A fight ensued and cops were called. Barnes texted a friend that he beat up Fisher. In a recent interview where he spoke of the incident, Barnes said that the 2 former teammates have moved past the incident. He said they eventually spoke and became more cordial, and over time, Barnes let it go completely, thanks in large part to his kids saying Fisher was a nice guy. Guns in the locker room. In 2009, Gilbert Arenas was a 3-time All-Star coming off a major injury and down year. His teammate, Javaris Crittenton, was a young bench player with potential. Crittenton's career came to an abrupt end due to an incident between the two. For a long time, the details of what happened were a mystery, but Arenas recently detailed what happened in the lead up to Crittenton pointing a gun at his face in the Washington Wizards locker room in 2009. The 2, along with another teammate, had been gambling on a card game on a team flight. This is common practice in the league, but Crittenton was losing big and was not happy about it. Arenas didn't pull any punches when trash-talking, adding to Crittenton's anger about losing so much money. Eventually, as the team was deboarding the plane, Crittenton made a comment that what had happened would get you beat up in the streets. Both he and Arenas had grown up in tough neighborhoods. Arenas responded saying jokingly that he'd burn Crittenton's vehicle with a player in it and then help him out by supplying a fire extinguisher. Crittenton said he'd just shoot Arenas. That should have been the end of it, but never let it go. Arenas, a few days later, called Crittenton's bluff and burrowed 4 guns into the locker room and offered them to his teammate as an option to shoot him as he said he would. Crittenton pulled out his own gun, cocked it, and pointed it at Arenas. Things were tense, but eventually died down with no shots fired. The incident became major news, and NBA Commissioner David Stern suspended both players. Crittenton's career was over just as it was getting started, and Arenas was never the same and was out of the league at age 30. Bro code shattered with secret recording. D'Angelo Russell was the star rookie on the Los Angeles Lakers, and Nick Young was a promising young player on the same team. The two were friends, at least before this incident. The two had participated in a season-long prank war. As part of this war, Russell decided to record Young talking about something he wouldn't want on film. Young was engaged to pop star Iggy Azalea. He wasn't faithful, though. Russell tricked Young into talking about a girl he had cheated on his fiancée with recently while Russell recorded. Somehow, the video made its way onto the internet and outed the infidelity of Young. The marriage was off, and the reputation of Russell was forever tarnished.